for our discussion today. We're really excited because typically when we've done a lot of these webinars, it's usually some of us here that work at Aldersgate talking about Aldersgate. But today we're doing something completely different. We're going to hear from the most important people on our property and our community, and it's our residents, right? But before we get started, I want to introduce a special guest, just to introduce herself and welcome everybody and tell us a little bit more about her time here at Aldersgate. So please join me in welcoming President and CEO of Aldersgate Life Planning Services, Suzanne Pugh. Welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you, Jorge. Good afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
It's so good to be able to be with you for just a few moments. I have the real privilege and honor of being the president and CEO of Aldersgate Life Plan Services, which includes a number of entities, but certainly our flagship entity is Aldersgate here on Shamrock Drive in wonderful East Charlotte. So welcome to this time together today. In my 24 years here, this is really one of the most exciting times that is really within our story here at Aldersgate. And as Jorge indicated, you really have the exciting pleasure today to be able to hear a little bit from our elders, our residents who live here, as well as to ask questions. And I encourage you to ask those questions. You know, we're just those salespeople sitting across the table from you. You know, the people that are on this panel today are the folks who really live life here at Aldersgate, and their stories and their perspectives are what is the truth. So welcome, and our mission is to honor elders and to create diverse and caring communities where everyone has voice and value. So today, I hope that you find the value in the wonderful voices that you're getting ready to hear from. And with that, I will turn it back over to you, Jorge, and thank you to the residents who are involved in our panel today. We're grateful to you for your participation. And thank you, those of you who are tuning in. I hope you learned some great stuff today. And come and visit us. We're opened up, we're safe, we're healthy, we're vaccinated. Come visit us. We'd love to have you here. Have a great time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Suzanne, and thank you for everything you do for us here in our community.
My pleasure.
So let me tell you a little bit about Aldersgate before we jump in. So if we can go to that next slide there, Anna Rose. So this is our life planning team, and I wanted to introduce ourselves to you. So I myself am the life plan director. I focus on the onboarding process and really helping folks, and with the help of our team here, plan the rest of their lives here at Aldersgate with us. So a couple of the folks on the team, we have John Redmond, who is a senior life plan counselor. He has also now been promoted, actually, and he's our life plan director over at Generations, our sister community. We also have Christina Payne, who's our life plan counselor. Courtney Carter, who does an amazing job as our move-in and options coordinator. She would be your point of contact when you have selected the residence that you want to live in. She would do all of the really just doing the renovations and making it your home, right? And then Morgan Chow, who without her, this place would fall apart. She is our life plan coordinator, and she handles all of the administrative work that happens here in our department. But Aldersgate, moving on to the next slide here, is, we are a nonprofit life plan community. And to me, the key word here is life planning and the fact that we are a nonprofit. There's a lot of other organizations that are not nonprofits that do what we do. For me, I left the private sector personally about 7 years ago to focus on serving our community. And that's exactly what Aldersgate does, focusing on diversity, inclusion, and equity. And those are terms that we hear a lot about these days. And I think that when folks say those words, they forget that when we talk about inclusion, we also need to think about our elders. And unfortunately, our elders are often forgotten in those conversations. And to me, that's something that I hold near and dear to my heart. I have tried to work really hard in our community, and I know this community of Aldersgate has worked really hard to make sure that we're constantly focused on inclusion, equity for everyone, and honoring our elders here. So if we can go to that next slide, Anna Rose, here's some of the amenities that we have on site. And I was blown away the first time I came to Aldersgate. The first time I came here, I had no idea it was a life plan community. I thought I could move in. I realized I didn't qualify yet, but I will one day, and I intend to. We have swimming pools. We have a wood shop that is in the process of being developed, and everybody's excited about. We have exercise classes, dog park, walking trails, a lake. We are located on 231 acres. And unlike some other communities in Charlotte and across the United States, when you have that much space, you truly get to enjoy your time here. It's not uncommon to see folks walking around our lake with their dogs, fishing. We have, we have the swimming pool that you can partake in at any time, and it really is, to me, I walk around the campus a lot when we tour folks, and you feel a connection to nature. And if you are, not the type of person that likes to be cooped up in an apartment somewhere, Aldersgate is probably for you. So some of the other things that we have in terms of on the campus, if we move on to that next slide, is we do have a different, just a different array of places that you can choose to live in. So the residences are anywhere from apartments all the way from condos, which is our new gateway. It's only been open for about 3 years, and it's a condominium / townhouse type feel. But if you're about being out independently by a cottage, we do have cottages as well, which are very, very popular. It feels like almost as if you are in a single family home and it's surrounded by woods. I mean, it's just absolutely remarkable. And I know the folks that live in the cottages absolutely love it, even though they're a little bit further away from the building. Most of them kind of choose that way, but they love their time there. But we also have, and I think this is the most important thing, the continuum care, right? So all the way from independent living to assisted living to memory care and skilled nursing, all here in our 231 acres. So for us, that's really important because it's all in-house. And as you age with us, you can move along that continuum of care with us. And that's something that is very special. And that there are other communities that provide that, but a majority of them don't do it on 231 beautiful acres like we do. So moving on to the next one here. We can stop if there are any questions. We don't necessarily have to take them now, because at this point, what I really want to do is I want to introduce the stars of the show. The reason why we're here is to hear from our residents. I can tell you how Aldersgate is until I'm blue in the face, but I'm not a resident of Aldersgate. So we really want to hear from them. They're the ones that live here, have spent time here, and really appreciate everything that we have and get to enjoy it on a full scale. So I'll start introducing some of the folks here, and they're going to tell you a little bit about themselves. And once we're done with that, we're going to open it up for questions so you can ask them anything you want. So we're going to start with, let's start with the Millers. I know we have Mr. and Mrs. Miller on here. Welcome.
Thank you. My name's Mick Miller, and gotta unmute myself.
Oh, we could. I think you muted yourself. You were perfect, Mick.
There we go.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we're the Millers. My name's Mick Miller, and this is my lovely wife, Maggie. And we moved to Charlotte about 1996 from Pennsylvania. Both of us born and raised in Pennsylvania. My company relocated us to Charlotte. And then in 2011, we moved to the bigger town of Pineville, and where we started our search for a retirement community. And also let my wife talk about our journey to selecting a retirement or life plan community is a better word. Thank you.
Yeah, at that time I was volunteering at another community sort of like this, but I knew it wasn't really the right place for us. So we started searching, and Aldersgate came up because we have members from our church who live here. And so in that process, we downsized and moved here 2 years ago. Our apartment that we live in now, we absolutely love it. It's the same size as the house that we moved from. So we didn't really have a whole lot to do. We just moved in and got ourselves announced all around campus. And the whole beauty of the green space here really caught our eye, but also the continued care that is offered, because who knows, we'll need it someday. And we wanted to come when it was our idea, not have someone send us here. So we're very happy we're here.
Millers, thank you so much. We're so happy to have you, and thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. Let's move to Dick Metzler. You're up.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Dick Metzler. I've lived in Charlotte for almost 30 years. My wife and I moved to Aldersgate 2 years ago, primarily because she needed more medical care than I could provide for her at home after she had had a stroke. We were familiar with Southminster, where my mother had lived for 14 years, and we'd visited other retirement communities, and Aldersgate had by far the best and most modern health and rehab center in the city. We had planned to live together in one of the new Gateway buildings that Jorge referred to earlier, but my wife's health declined faster than expected, and she moved directly to Asbury Health Center, where she had excellent care until she passed away last November. I moved to an independent living apartment in the Lakeview building, one of the new Gateway buildings. And I think besides the medical facilities, the things that I like most about Aldersgate are its extensive campus with its open space and its commitment to and participation in the diverse community where it is located. I'll tell you, there are more restaurants per mile in this neighborhood than anywhere else in Charlotte.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And to your point, we were actually rated by US News as one of the top rehab centers in the entire country. And that's something that we're very, very proud of. So thank you for touching on that. And thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, Dick. Really appreciate it. We will move to Gene. Welcome, Gene. How's everything going? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
Well, I'm Rob. I'm an independent living resident and a member of the Aldersgate Board of Directors. Let me start by saying that when Jorge asked me to say something, I was very pleased to be able to recap why I'm here and what I've been doing since I moved here. Let me say first that my wife, Elizabeth, and I moved here. We did a fair amount of searching beforehand around Charlotte, and we also did some searching up in Maine where we had relatives. We liked what we saw here, but unfortunately, when we moved here, my wife passed away within the first month. But what we liked about Aldersgate still was the same thing that I liked about Aldersgate. You know, it was a beautiful fit with our long-term budget. It had the excellent healthcare facilities. And it had the grounds, which offer a healthy, clean air, walking paths, and gardening, golf. And it's a real bonus to me is a lake where they have bass up to 8 pounds. But I haven't found one yet that big, but I know there's one in there. So when my wife passed away, I was faced with a new decision about my life. What would I do? Would I stay or would I go? Most of my friends thought I would leave. But as I analyzed my situation, I became to realize that this might be the right place for me still. At 81 years old, Aldersgate offered me all the opportunities that brought us here. Also because I was very healthy, I could come and go and visit friends and family, both near and far. Well, all my possessions were safely here in my beautiful Aldersgate apartment. So I decided to do what many of my friends suggested to do, and that is don't do anything for a year and then decide what's best for you. So that's what I decided to do. For me, the next steps then became obvious. If I was going to make this my new home, what did I need to do to become part of the community? What should I do to help improve the community? And well, how would I structure my activities to balance my old friends with my new friends and my hobbies and my travel to relatives and friends? Well, I can tell you all of that is possible when you live here. Well, except when COVID came. But even COVID couldn't stop my development of new friendships. The community engagement, hobbies could all be pursued on campus. Let me take a minute to tell you some of the things that I've been privileged to participate in during this year, leading up to COVID, even during COVID. The successful transfer at any community is to get involved in what you like to do before you got here. However, if you are inclined to focus more inwardly, that's also possible here. First, what I did was I've been known to cook a rib now and then. So for the last 2 years, I've been holding 4 rib cookouts, and they are now in demand, and keeping up with the attendance below the smoker capacity has become a problem. I also observed that English ivy was taking over some of the beautiful trees, so I volunteered with others to remove it by hand. I love to garden, primarily flowers, dahlias, and zinnias. I took on 2 10 by 15 foot plots the first year, and then 4 plots last year. I grow them for my own enjoyment to share with friends, but you'll find them in the winter garden near the information desk and in the memory care and in the skilled nursing. Last year, when management was extremely busy with COVID, I volunteered to take over the coordination of the care of the rose garden. We have a 50 plant rose garden. With the help of others, we coordinated the disbudding and the deadheading of the roses, the irrigation control. And I worked on our rose care company to assure timely spraying, replacement of the dead roses, and winterizing the garden. I attended an Aldersgate March Equity March along with other employees for the George Floyd incident. I became an area representative for my building for the resident council. Friends suggested that I run for the position of resident member of the Aldersgate Board of Directors, and I'm working on my first year of a 3-year potential term. Oh yes, and I found time for Tai Chi class, evening fishing, joining friends at the Wednesday night fine dining. You may know that we have a bar in the Winter Garden area. Many nights before COVID, I, along with friends, would get together for a drink, dinner, and a friendship. It was there one evening that I sat beside a new lady, and we struck up a conversation that led to many more. Now we are a happy couple enjoying Aldersgate and looking forward to a post-COVID year with our friends here at Aldersgate and busing out for some serious travel. Much is possible for those who pursue their own happiness. Come join us and let us do it together.
Oh, thank you so much, Gene. That gives me goosebumps just hearing that amazing story of yours. Just an amazing journey, and we're so fortunate to have you. So just thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing your experience with everyone. That's amazing. Well, let's go on to Helen. Helen, are you with us? Helen Titchener, everyone. I know she was on there. Oh, Helen, bottom left, the mute button. If you hover over the little thing. There we go.
There we go. Am I unmuted?
You're unmuted.
Well, you put me after Gene. Now that's a tough one to follow, honest to Pete. But I have my own journey. It's a little bit different from Gene's, but there are a lot of similarities too. I decided to come here because I wanted to give a gift to my children. And to me, the greatest gift for me to give to them was not to have to worry about me and my well-being as they communicate with me from Ohio, from wherever they are. And they don't have to worry. So I came because of the long health care possibilities here, the rehab possibilities. Everything was at my feet and everything was here to relieve them of distant concerns. They're very happy that I'm here, as am I. My decision to come to Aldersgate after investigating any number of places was dependent on many-fold options. And one was, when I came, something drew me back. I came not once, not twice, not 3 times, but always something. After I looked at another place, I came back here. Another place, I came back here. And what was it? What was it, I asked myself, about this place that was almost compelling? It was the atmosphere. That I finally nailed it. It was the openness, the friendliness, the hello, how are you? They didn't know me from a telephone pole as I walked through here. And yet everybody, staff, employees, residents, welcomed me. And by the way, I have a therapy dog and they welcomed my dog also. And that was another thing that drew me here, was the fact that I could keep my animal and he could continue his therapy work in the hospitals in Charlotte until COVID, of course, but also here, right here on campus, he could go and visit the various people who were not able to get around. What do I do here? I wonder when I had time to work before I came here. The opportunities to stay busy are unbelievable, but you need to seek them out depending upon what you like. I'm an exercise nut, so I go swimming, I go to fitness classes, I go to anything that has to do with exercise. I walk the dog around the lake, which is very beautiful, by the way, and manage to stay busy. I participate in events such as trivia that's run by the Millers, by the way, thank God. It's wonderful. And we all get together and have a good time doing this. There are any number of possibilities for you to be a participant. And it really depends on you as an individual and what it is that you like, because there's something here for everybody. There certainly is something here for me. And you've already heard that I'm a tech idiot. I wear that badge, not proudly, but I have to wear that badge. And I must say there's all kinds of support for people like me. And not only among residents, but also among the staff. We have staff here who can support us with trying to stay connected one way or another. When I moved here in an interesting way. I have no concept of spatial relations, as you can imagine. I can't manage a computer. God knows I can't manage a move-in. So I did hire somebody recommended by Aldersgate, and this individual came to my home, told me what's going to fit in this place and what's not going to fit in this place. And I said, you're kidding. I can't take this. I can't take, no, honey, this is not going to work from all the stuff that you have. I listened, and these people packed me up, moved me in, unpacked me. They told me not to show up till 3 o'clock on move-in day. And when I walked into my apartment, it was all done. I can't tell you what a relief that was for someone who's alone. And for me, the move would have been monumental without that kind of assistance. I like it here. I like it here very much. The atmosphere, as I said, is absolutely wonderful. I've met so many people from so many different places, from so many walks of life. And that was another thing that impressed me so much. And that is that you have over here an engineer, you over here a school teacher, you've got a minister over here. And people have come from everywhere and bring so much expertise and so many interesting stories that you can't be bored, can't possibly be, if you make the effort to go out and meet them and join in. And that's one of the keys to being here. I like it that I can keep my dog. He's a good little animal, and we do a lot together. The other thing is I'm a city girl. I grew up in New York, and I like the city. And before COVID, we were able to be transported, no less. You know, you could go to the symphony, transported to the museums here in Charlotte, transported to, field trips. There was a lot that we could do, and I know that's coming back as things open up slowly. And I'm looking so forward to be able to hop on the bus, go to the symphony, enjoy a beautiful concert, hop on the bus and come back. And some people even go to dinner first, which is absolutely wonderful. And speaking of that, Jean said so very correctly, there are any number of restaurants in this city, and especially in the area where we live. It's just unending. And that's another thing that I enjoy, is getting off campus and going and exploring Charlotte, about which I knew nothing, except for maybe field trips here and there. But I don't know Charlotte at all, but I've come to love it. I love this city. And another thing that I really appreciate about Aldersgate is the fact that my daughter from Ohio, my granddaughter in Houston, can come and spend a week with me. I just order the cot is moved into my place, and they can stay on the cot and come and stay. This was before COVID, but you know what, it's coming back. So the fact that I can have visitors for more than just a cup of coffee is wonderful, and especially the out-of-towners who can come and spend a week. I mean, each of them spend a week way back when I first moved in, which was less than 2 years ago, by the way. Needless to say, I know I made the right decision. I love my garden. I've never gardened in my life. All I grew in Ohio in clay was a green tomato, and that was horrible. But people here took me under their wing, they helped me, and all of a sudden I had green tomatoes. Yeah, I did. And I was able to share those and share some cucumbers too. So as I said, I like it here. I have one regret. We all have regrets in this life, but my biggest regret about coming here is that I didn't come sooner. I wish I had. Could have done much more and could have made more friends, but I'm glad I'm here now, and I hope you'll come. At least come and look at us. You won't be disappointed. Thank you.
Ellen, thank you so much for speaking from the heart. That's just amazing. I feel like I personally know you better now, and I'm sure everybody else in attendance does as well. And I think some of the things you mentioned, specifically around the support, that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on. Is it's an interesting time for folks when they're going from their life outside of Aldersgate and into Aldersgate. So we try to do the best we can, through that process, right? To make sure that you can right size. And it's encouraging to hear your story of how, it was taken care of throughout. The other thing I heard you say was just the community. And to me, that's the feel that I got when I first came through Aldersgate, where I was just like, gosh, like everybody is extremely friendly. I didn't even work here at the time. It's just that community feel, that atmosphere. I do feel that that's what makes us different and special. And just thank you so much for sharing your story and your journey with us as well. Let's move to Judy. We have Judy Sanford. Are you there, Judy? Oh, and I think she's working on the mute button, so hang tight. Just scroll over to the bottom left. There
okay. We go. Thank you. I'm Judy Sanford, and my husband Ken Sanford and I moved here just 7 months ago to Aldersgate. 5 or 6 years ago, we had some really good friends who moved to Aldersgate and moved into a cottage. And we visited them a time or two and would have a meal with them, but we would kind of say, like some of you are saying, oh, we're not quite ready. It's not quite time. So a few years went by and we began to think, we do need to get ready. It's more than time for us to do our children the favor of having a place that would take care of us for life. So we visited many other communities, as many of you are doing and have done. And all of a sudden during that time, some of our church friends and some of my husband's work friends had moved here. So about almost 2 years ago, or not quite, we thought we're getting serious and we really always seem to come back to Aldersgate. The greenery, the property amount, there were so many things that kept eliminating the other places and bringing us here. And so we started the process really about July a year ago and saying, okay, we're really going to come. Went home and started, throwing out half of all our stuff if we could. And the children helped a lot with that. But we did the quarantine and the COVID set us back about 3 months. We had everything about ready to jump. And then we thought, And we took about 3 months in the first part of 2020 to say, let's slow up a little bit. But then when we did come early last summer and picked out our place, and we did pick out a cottage, although when we had come back a year and a half ago to start really looking, we loved the new buildings. We loved what they had done to the main building, Winter Garden, the updated things they had done, the different dining venues. It was just so amazing, so different from what we had first seen 5 or 6 years ago. And so we finally, after really having so many choices of where we'd like to move, we did pick a cottage. I love to be able to look out at the trees and the bushes and see the deer go back behind our house over here in Wesley Glen. And so we moved in the end of August. Of course, Aldersgate was still in some kind of a quarantine, not as severe had it been the first 8 or 9 months. But we've made so many friends already. I walk every single day. I love that lake. I've brought my daughters to walk the lake with me. We can't wait for the azalea gardens to be in bloom. We've seen pictures of those. We feel like this is a place that will take care of us for life. My husband needed physical therapy. He had been taking for a year or so. When he came, we immediately got connected to physical therapy here for him. It's been wonderful. In fact, he's graduated from physical therapy, which he thought was really great. And we're looking forward to the opportunities of being parts of more things. But we know this was a good decision for us, and really we should have done it 5 or 6 years ago, but we're here now, so we're going to enjoy every day.
Thank you so much, Judy. And I think one of the things that I keep hearing, and Helen mentioned it, I know you just mentioned it, is around the timing, right? And when is the right time? And it seems like a majority of the folks that I talk to say something similar, which is, I wish I would have come here earlier. And it's never too early to come. And I think that's very interesting. And I think it makes a world of sense, right? So let's see, let's go to the Johnsons. We have Mr. and Mrs. Johnson. Welcome, and tell us a little bit about yourselves and your journey.
Well, I'm Tom Johnson. This is my wife, Kay, here. We've been residents here for 4.5 months. And we live in the independent living section in one of the cottages, which has provided a lot of space to it. And as far as the journey here, I'm going to let Kay speak to this, and then I'll talk a little bit about what we like about it here.
Okay, so how we got here is interesting in that I sort of was told by my parents forever that a continuing care community was the place to be, because you could go in totally independent, have your normal life, but without the cares of taking care of a house and cutting yards and cleaning and having something break down. You could travel as you wanted to, have community, and then as you needed more care, it was available basically in your community, at your home, or certainly in your community. So I've heard that forever. And Tom then, of course, as we got married, heard that forever. And then back in the early 90s, we watched my parents actually do that. I had watched my grandparents do it too late. And then I watched my parents move in as they retired into a continuing care community. And it's just been wonderful for them since the early 1990s. They were totally independent. They traveled for several weeks out of the year. They still did anything and everything they wanted to. But the best thing they said was, we're building our community here. And that the studies show that if you move in early and build your community there, you're going to live a longer life and a more enjoyable life. And they proved that to be true. My mom had a stroke in 2014 and was given all the care she needed and passed away. And then my dad has been there since. He stayed in the cottage for a while. I told him he needed to wait that year and decide what to do. And then he eventually moved into an apartment in the building where they were. They're out of town, not in Charlotte. He's been so well cared for and is so happy that when it came time for us to retire, we started the research as far as what we wanted to do. Now, we had been in Charlotte since early 90s, so we really started looking in Charlotte. But that's why we went to a continuing care community to begin with, why we looked and had decided on that. And then Tom's going to tell you more about why we decided on Aldersgate.
Yeah. And by the way, we did move here early. Within 6 months of Kay's retirement, we were here. So we started doing the research and everything, and things just fell into place. They did an amazing job of showing us what was available. The timing worked out to get the housing, the type of housing we wanted. And so all those things fell into place. Helen had a really good suggestion. If you get offered the services of this company that specializes in downsizing and packing and moving and so on, take it. It will be worth it. That's one thing. As far as living here, there are three things that come to mind that every person wants, and Aldersgate fills the bill in terms of your spiritual development, your physical development, and your mental development. And the enrichment that it provides on all three of those very important dimensions, aspect of living as we age, are addressed here at Aldersgate. By the way, we endorse all the things, the positive comments that have been made by the other folks here, so I won't repeat them. But the staff is super friendly, super helpful, super supportive, in addition to the friendly atmosphere. And so for us, it checked all the boxes. We did our research about other places and so on, and this one just had all the things that we were looking for in retirement. We could get into independent living. We're in a nice separate home with a 2-car garage and so on. And so it's been great for us. But we know, again, as Helen pointed out again, this was a gift to our children. So we wanted to take that burden off of them, and it filled the bill in spades.
Well, thank you both. I think you are probably one of the newest residents on the call. So I think hearing from you and your moving experience and about your past, thank you so much for sharing it. We're so lucky and fortunate to have you all here at Aldersgate. You two are what seems to be, to me, what I call a power couple. And the Millers too. I'm not leaving y'all far behind. Y'all right there and there, both power couples. So thank y'all so much. So let's go. Last but not least, we have Milton Gilbert. Milton, tell us a little bit about yourself. And then after Milton, we'll go into the Q&A session. So if you are attending here and you have questions for our residents, I've already taken note of a few in the chat box. Feel free to put them in the chat box. I'm taking notes of them, and then we'll go ahead and ask the residents. But welcome. Let's see, did we lose him? Oh, no, there's Milton Gilbert.
Yes. Well, thank you. It's interesting that you just had the Johnsons on, and they are probably one of the newest residents of this crowd. And I happen to be the oldest in terms of living here at Aldersgate of this crowd, because we came here in August, or actually September of 2013. Which means that this is finishing up our 8th year here. I'm not one that is not used to moving, because I was a United Methodist pastor. So I spent almost my whole career from church to church to church to church, spending my last 8 years as a district superintendent, but never in the western part of this state. I always served in the eastern part of this state. Well, when my wife developed dementia, which was a serious blow to me and a serious blow to our family, etc., because she was so vital and so bright and so capable. But she developed dementia. I knew that I needed to go someplace that I could get some help for my wife. Well, we looked at the places that one would obviously look at in eastern North Carolina, and we were not able to find any availability. But there was availability here at Aldersgate. Well, would you believe that my oldest son lives in Charlotte? And so it was a perfect move. I was not going to move to live with my youngest son or live near my youngest son, who was at that point in medical school, because I knew he'd finish up and he would go. So you might ask the question, what is the thing that keeps me here? My wife's been gone for over 4 years. She died in Asbury, got very good treatment and lived in Asbury. What was the thing that kept us here or kept me here? One thing, the residents, the people that live here. They make the difference. Some of you on this screen that I know very well today, and your new residents like Helen and Jean and Dick and Mick and etc. To me, you're new residents, but it's this relationship that we develop with people who are living here. And we've created a sense of a new family. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's the kind of glue that holds you together in a unified whole. Leadership wise, I've been the president of the association. I was president for 2 years. I was then the past president for 2 years. I used to run the movies that we used to show here before we had COVID. I have done a number of lectures here. I've taught in the Sunday school class that we used to have because of COVID. There's so many things that we have to do here in Aldersgate. Some of them have been set aside temporarily because of COVID. They will come back. And when they come back, there's going to be more for people to do here at Aldersgate than you could possibly dream of. And so, what's the thing that keeps me at Aldersgate? One thing, the people. Those of you here and everybody else, the residents and the management and the workers. That's the strength, that's the tendons that makes everything work. And I give God thanks that I'm here and that for the last 4 years at least, without a spouse, and 4 years before that, while she was in the nursing home, that's the unity that holds me together. You people. Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Gilbert. And thanks for sharing your story, and thank you for your service as a pastor as well. And just thanks for telling us about your journey and your history here. I guess you are, I mean, arguably, unless somebody else has any objections, you are the one resident that has been here the longest on the call, right? So it's interesting how we segued from the Johnsons, who are so relatively new, to you. And I think your experience is invaluable because you've been here now almost 8 years.
8 years.
Yeah. So thank you all so much for sharing, your journey, your experience here at Aldersgate. We want to move into the questions and answers portion of the program. We have a couple of questions that have come up. I have taken them down. So let's start with the first question that we had here was around the cottages, right? So Wanda asked, was it? Yes. So I'm sorry, making sure I wrote this down. Yes. So the question was from the cottages, in terms of mobility, and this good question for you all that live in the cottages. it's around how far is it from the main building, and is it easily accessible to come into the building? So anybody in the cottages want to take a swing at that one?
Oh, well.
Okay, go ahead, Judy.
Yes, my husband and I live in the cottages. It's a good walk for me because I'm a walker. I can walk to the main building, pick up a post, a package, or go to the dining. My husband does not walk that far usually, but many people in the cottages, I don't know if these new people know that, do have golf carts. They're welcome here. And so for him, he would use a golf cart or the car and drop off at the main buildings. For me, I could walk it.
Awesome. Thank you, Judy. Tom and Ms. Johnson?
Yeah, I've timed it actually because we live in Wesley Glen and walking there. And at a decent walk, not a fast walk or a slow one, but you can count on anywhere from 12 to 14 minutes to walk up to the main building there where the dining venues are and that type of thing for that. And Judy points out, yeah, a golf cart is used by those with limited mobility in order to do that. But it's a very pleasant walk around the lake to get up there, good exercise and so on. So a lot of people here walk and use it to get out and about.
Thank you all. Anybody else in the cottages want to add to that? Okay, great. Well, I hope that answers that question. Moving on to the next question here. So the question comes from Wanda. Wanda says, I'm an African American, and is there racial diversity within our community? And I can answer that part. I think it's the latter part that is more for the residents. So there are residents of color here at Aldersgate, and we do pride ourselves on racial diversity and equality and equity for all. It's at the root of who we are. And quite frankly, one of the things that we're focused on is, and particularly me in this role of life plan director and bringing folks on board, is how do we continue to welcome communities of color to participate and enjoy the benefits of living at a CCRC or a life plan community. And I think historically, and I can speak at least for, as a Latin American, historically, that isn't necessarily something that our, at least my ancestors have done. But I do think it's time, and it's time to educate communities of color on the importance of life plan communities and why we should. Now, the latter part of the question is for the residents, and would residents welcome African Americans here as we have in the past? But I'll let you all ask this. I know we have, but anybody want to take on that question? I'm sorry, I saw a hand go up. Okay, go ahead, Mr. and Mrs. Miller. I think y'all are on mute.
Sorry about that. Yes, we live in Magnolia View Apartments, and we do have a lady lives below us, Diane, very nice lady. She's African American. We also have a couple on the first floor from India. So we have mixed people here as far as racial mix and also economy mixes. It's just every walk of life that you can think of here, which makes it a very interesting place to live and enjoy. Thank you. Hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you, Mick. Anybody else want to add to that? And I'm sorry, I'm trying to flip back and forth. Go ahead, Dick, you can go for it.
I just would like to relate a personal experience after moving here. I had friends of color throughout my life, but I would have to say never lived in a community where there were anyone that I felt really close to. After moving here, I had an opportunity, along with some others, to participate in what we called Acting Our Age. It was an opportunity to come and share a little bit about our life histories. There had been a previous group that actually did this and put on a production down at Spirit Square. And one of the people in the group was an African-American, grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, where I had been in the service actually. And it's remarkable how quickly we got to know one another and felt free to share our life's experiences in a way that bound us together very closely after, especially during the COVID times.
Thank you, Dick. I appreciate that. And I'm trying to just go back and forth. So if there's anybody else that wants to add on to that, feel free to go ahead and do so. I'm having an issue seeing the screen. Okay, so here's what I will say, and I do want to, I know the question was more for the residents, but I will say, so prior to my previous life, before coming to Aldersgate, I led a nonprofit focused on equity and equality. I got to know Aldersgate because we were welcomed in here to host equity sessions and racial diversity sessions with the residents of Aldersgate. And to me, that was just an amazing experience. And it's when I first started personally developing a passion for serving our elders, but just understanding that the organization is willing, able, and just so focused on making sure that we continue to be welcoming to all. And that's why I work here. Because for me, it's something that's near and dear to my heart. It's something I'm very passionate about. And I think at this point, we are taking intentional steps to bring in communities of color, make sure that, African-American, Latin American, Indian American, and all communities of color understand the benefits of living in a life plan community. And we continue to hope to keep diversifying the population here. So thank you all so much for those answers. Thank you for sharing your experiences. The next question is around vaccination, and Wanda, love your response. I hope that was the answer you were looking for, because it's as genuine and honest as it gets. So hopefully, if you haven't taken a tour, reach out to us. But I'd love to take you around myself. But vaccination status. So the question was around vaccination status. So we did have our independent living residents. Over 99% at this point have been vaccinated and received both shots. So any experiences y'all want to share around the vaccination process and how it went? I know it seemed very smooth from my perspective, but y'all are the residents. So if anybody wants to answer that question, I think Milton wants to go. Go ahead, sir.
It could not have been done more smoothly. It was done professionally. It was done through CVS. It was done with the help of the people here at Aldersgate, and it was almost, again, a fellowship time for all of us to gather together and to receive the shots. It was a great experience.
Yeah. Cities have been here.
Go ahead. Anybody else want to add something to that?
Yes, Maggie wanted to say something. Say something. Yeah.
I have to agree with what Milton said. I was very impressed because I was a little nervous getting the shot, but it just went smoothly, and everyone here at Aldersgate took care of us during that process, and I can't thank them enough how well it went. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I think
Incidentally, let me just add, I'm still waiting for the pain of having the shot. I'm still waiting for it. And that was the first shot, and that was back in February sometime. I'm still waiting for it to hurt.
Well, good. I'm glad that it went that smooth. I agree. I think, my mother got hers, and she's 75, and she had just a little bit, but she was like, this is nothing. I've been through a whole lot worse in my life. So awesome. And I think, Gene, you wanted to go ahead and add something. Go ahead, sir.
And second, Milton's comments, it was so organized, and we didn't have to worry about filling out a whole bunch of paperwork. We had maybe to fill out about 4 or 5 things and then sign a piece of paper. get in line and get in, and the shots just bam like that, you're out. It was really organized. So I'm going to have to leave now because I have another meeting I have to attend. So if there's any questions directed for me, I'll be glad to take them. Otherwise, I'm out.
Sounds good, Gene. I know you stay busy, so thank you so much for being a part of it. We only got about 5 more minutes anyhow, so you've been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I noticed, Jorge, I noticed that someone has asked how many residents are at Aldersgate.
Yes, thank you, Judy. I appreciate that. So we have approximately 400 in independent living and a total of 600 on the entire campus. So that's actually a very good question. Obviously, the number fluctuates from time to time, but those are the approximate figures. Okay, so I think that answers most of the questions. I think that I'm trying to see if making sure we didn't miss any. Oh, good question, actually. So do any of the residents still work? This one is from Jill. So anybody want to answer that? I know y'all know most of the residents. I know definitely they stay busy, and I think the definition of work really is kind of, you know, it just depends, right? You know, does that include pay, or because I think y'all do a whole lot of work around here. So go ahead. I think Tom wanted to say something.
Yeah, I can say, Kay and I both still work, but only part-time. Kay does consulting work for another nonprofit organization, the choir school at St. Peter's, where she retired from, but she's now consulting for that. And then I do part-time instruction in photography and some contract work in photography as well. So they're not full-time jobs, which is not what we were looking for to go back to the grind. But it certainly fits in well in a retirement lifestyle and in a community like this where we can come and go and have things taken care of it for us here. You know, all of your maintenance worries are transferred over to administration. They handle everything. So it gives us time to concentrate and do some of those things we still like to do, but not necessarily a 9-to-5 job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, good. So it seems like we are right on time. I think there was one extra question that was not in the chat box that I saw here in the Q. Okay, it was in the Q&A section. So I'll answer it briefly so we can make sure everybody stays on time. But the question was, what are future expansion plans at the East Charlotte location, and how many acres of natural area will be preserved? So we have a master site plan, which for anybody that's interested in learning a little bit more about it, I'm going to put my email here in the chat box because I love to talk a little bit more about it. So we have, you know, the master site plan, which includes a mixed income development that will be senior focused. And what I mean by that is 200 of there's a total of 236 residences. 200 will be for mixed income folks 55 years and above. The other 36 will be for families. And for me, you know, one of my hopes is we have a huge staff here at Aldersgate, and is that some of this staff can take advantage of it and our surrounding areas. Additionally, there's a second phase to that proposed development, which would include commercial, which some of it would include, you know, restaurants, you know, and this is all again concept, so don't hold me to it 10 years from now, but hopefully some medical, you know, and just really creating a community right on the exterior portion of Aldersgate, and us being really just one. So I can get a little bit more in depth. I'm going to put my email address here so you can reach out to me. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Let me just type this here because I can't talk and think at the same time. So I'll put this here, aldersgateccrc.org. But we have an amazing plan that it's a plan that quite frankly will eventually outlast me, and really creating and building on the amazing community that Aldersgate already is. And we're really excited about it and really proud about it. So for any of you that didn't get your questions answered, feel free to reach out. And my apologies, I believe, yes, my email is actually .com, not .org. So let me fix that, aldersgateccrc.com. So if you're interested in a tour, reach out. We would love to take you around. If you are looking for a virtual tour, we can also do a virtual tour if you don't feel comfortable coming out just yet, if you haven't been fully vaccinated. But we are here for you. And the first thing I want to do before we sign off is I want to thank each and every single one of the residents that took the time to join us today and share your stories, share your journey. To me, this has been the highlight of my week, getting to know every single one of you even better than I already did. And I know that for the attendees, I hope it was as fulfilling as it was for me. But you are, the residents here at Aldersgate are truly what make Aldersgate special. And when people ask me, why do you love your job, Jorge? I say there's two things. Number one, the residents of Aldersgate. Number two, or 1.1 is the staff. But to me, that's what it's all about, is the community that we are. That's what makes us strong. That's what binds us. And that's what separates Aldersgate from any life plan community that I've ever heard of or been a part of or been around. So just thank you to the residents, each and every single one of you, for taking the time. Thanks to those in attendance. Please reach out. I'm going to put my correct email here now since I put the wrong one. So it's jorge.m@aldersgateccrc.com. Send me an email and I'll make sure that either you get a tour with me or one of our life plan counselors. But just like the resident said, it's never too early to come. And quite frankly, now is the time. So we look forward to hearing from you all. Thanks to everybody that's here today, and have a great evening, everybody.